On today's episode of the DuckZone503 Podcast, we're going to be recapping the Week 12 matchup of number 6 Oregon at Arizona State. I'm your host, Dominiqk Peterson. This is the DuckZone503 Podcast, where we talk all things Oregon football. Let's get into it, people.
Welcome to the DuckZone503 Podcast, talking all things Oregon football, with your host, Dominiqk Peterson. Let's go.
Welcome into today's edition of the DuckZone503 Podcast. The date is Sunday, November 19th, 2023, and I am more than happy to be with you people. The number 6 Ducks are coming off a dominant win in the desert where they beat Arizona State 49-13. They handled business and did what they were expected to do, and that's a win in this game. You know what I'm saying? That's a win within a win, coming in, getting the job done, win this game big. That's what we're supposed to do. This was a game where even I had flashbacks to 2019, guys, where Oregon was on the cusp of making a college football playoff just like we are now. And then freshman Jaden Daniels upsets Justin Herbert and the Ducks. But that was not the case this time around. As you know, from the jump, it was obvious, guys, that Arizona State could not stop Bo Nix. They could not stop this Ducks offense at all. And it was crystal clear that the Sun Devils were not going to be able to do a thing against this Ducks defense. We had them swarmed all game. Look, man, excuse me, credit to Kenny Dillingham and this Arizona State team. You know, they came out, they're looking to compete. But look, man, they ran into a buzzsaw with how well this Oregon team is playing at this point in time. No doubt about it. Historically, as a Duck fan, we all know these games right here where we're supposed to win, we're supposed to go into the desert and handle business. Historically, this is where the Ducks might have struggled, might have slipped up at this point. Well, this time around, guys, thanks to Dan Lanning and this staff leading this team, this year's Oregon's team, which I think is going to be pretty special. They're playing their best football at the exact right time. Right now, this is where this Oregon football team is playing their best football. Look, I get I'm biased here, but I really do think that Oregon is playing even better than Washington right now. And we all know that Washington won the head-to-head. They're undefeated. Got a big win last week, and they got their spot locked into the title game. Meanwhile, this Civil War with the Beavers is going to be absolutely electric and wild in Autzen Stadium, guys. This Friday night game, 5:30 kickoff. The Beavers, they only lost by 2 points this last weekend to Washington. They're a borderline ranked right there, top 10 team coming into it. And even though they lost, guys, I don't expect them to drop far in the college football rankings that come out on Tuesday night. I expect them to be still top 15 at the least, top 15, maybe top 20. So this matchup this Friday, absolutely huge. Everything on the line. Ducks need to win to get into the Pac-12 championship and get the revenge on Washington. They need it. And the stage is set. The last Civil War this Friday. Cannot wait for our preview and prediction episode later this week, guys. If you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast down below. I'm giving you guys 2 podcasts a week, recruit interviews, and the latest updates on all our social medias at DuckZone503. That's the quickest way, the most efficient way to get all updates on Oregon football as soon as possible. Quicker than anywhere else you'll get them, I'll tell you that. Rate this podcast on Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, it always helps me out. If you're listening on Spotify and you rate this thing 5 stars, we talk Pac-12 ball and more, giving you things like recruit interviews in the offseason. Can't wait to hit up these 2024 guys that are going to be coming in next season, talk to them, get to meet them. So make sure you guys lock in and don't miss out on the DuckZone503 podcast. As always, guys, go Ducks. All right. Oregon handle business at Arizona State. As you know, as I like to begin these podcasts, I like to give you guys the quick game recap. So let's run it real quick right after this message. Appreciate everybody for listening. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Dominiqk Peterson, host of the DuckZone503 Podcast, where we talk all things Oregon football. Very excited to announce we just launched our very first merch store. Men's and women's t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, stickers, phone cases, mugs, and cups are all sold at DuckZone503.creator-spring.com. If you want to go grab one of those today, that's DuckZone503.creator-spring.com. Store link will be in the description below as well. All right. Appreciate everybody for that. Store link in the description. As you know, I am not funded by any big media corporation, no big funding, no nothing. I'm just a fan by the fan, giving my take for you, the fan. Appreciate everybody who wants to help out there and rock some dope merch, man. All right, let's get into it. Quick game recap. Oregon starts the game with the ball on offense, and Arizona State gets the Ducks on third down early. Only for Bo Nix, man. Talking about Bo Nix. We're going to talk a lot about him this whole podcast. Bo Nix finds his brother Tej Johnson on the left side for a conversion on what was a 3rd and 11 to start this game. Look, talking about momentum, talking about being the home team. You want to come out and stop the team on defense. You get him on 3rd and 11. And, well, when you got a quarterback like Bo Nix, when you got a wide receiver out there like Tej Johnson, electric he is, they keep this drive alive and keep momentum rolling for the Ducks. Later on in that same drive, guys, Nix would go on to find Patrick Herbert over the middle for the first touchdown of the game for the Ducks, and they go up 7-0 early in the first. Arizona State, we get the ball, and as expected, run some pretty wild stuff, okay? These guys are having quarterback injuries. Kenny Dillingham needs to go in his bag. We knew this coming in. If you watch the preview and prediction episode, our guy Richie told us this. And when you have the situation that Kenny Dillingham is in, you just got to get creative. And for Dan Lanning and this staff, that might be a really hard thing to prepare for coming in, because coming in, you don't know who's going to be throwing the ball. You don't know what this offense is going to look like. It looks completely different from when it started because all their quarterbacks are basically injured. But the beautiful thing about this game is that there's 4 quarters and there's a lot of time for Dan Lanning and the staff to make adjustments. Later in the game, we got some things figured out. But to start this game, man, they were running some crazy things. They were kind of moving the ball, and they got it down to the Ducks, the Ducks red zone. Ultimately, though, it would come up with no points, and the Ducks would hold. Next drive, Ducks have the ball at the Arizona State 49 at this point, and Bo Nix makes a quick pass to Patrick Herbert on the side, and absolutely beautiful. Need 3 beautifuls in there for this one. From the O-line, getting out and screen plays the offensive line. They need to have the opportunity to block for a second for the quarterback to get it out and go. Get upfield and block on these screen passes. And oh my gosh, if there ever was a textbook, a perfect film for getting out upfield and blocking for who has the ball, the receiver. At this point, it was Pat Herbert. They got right upfield, got their blocks. I mean, we had 2 offensive linemen plus Pat Herbert at the end zone. That's how wide open this play was for the Ducks. Herbert gets his 2nd receiving touchdown on the day. Ducks go up 14-0 at this point. Arizona State will get stopped by the Ducks again. And Bo Nix, with already 2 touchdowns thrown in the first quarter, comes back to lead the offense. Not looking good for Arizona State here. No points on the board. Nix is looking hot. 2 touchdowns already on the board. The run game got going here. Bucky Irving got going in this game. Oregon moved it to the Arizona State 16-yard line. And something that has really made this team dangerous all year. With the defense creeping up, the Arizona State defense creeping up to that O-line, trying to stop this dangerous run game that killed them on this certain drive in particular. A veteran player. You got a veteran player. Remember, a quarterback, all-time, most starts in the league. Bo Nix, that sees this. He sees the defense coming up, and then he hits Troy Franklin right down the seam for his 3rd touchdown in the game in just the first quarter alone, guys. 3 touchdowns in just the first quarter alone. Ducks go up 21-0 at this point. And look, all the haters want to call Bo Nix a check down merchant and all that. I get it. They'll say that in the comments when we're talking about the Heisman. I'm going to certainly talk about the Heisman later in this podcast. Well, on this play, he proved all the haters wrong, guys. On the next drive, a sweet pass sailed 45 yards down the field to Troy Franklin in the end zone. Talk about a check down merchant, right? 45 yards down the field. Ducks go up 28-0 at this point. Not that much longer. Ducks get the ball back. And my guy, let's talk about him. Gary Bryant Jr., the USC transfer, came through the transfer portal from USC. Makes an electric. We want to talk about yards after catch, what a receiver can do. 71-yard pass and catch from Bo Nix, taking it all the way to the house, guys. All the way to the house, 71 yards. And that was all Gary Bryant. Look, Nix, all he had to do is throw it out to him. Gary Bryant done the rest. Making Arizona State defenders miss all the way there. Shout out Gary Bryant Jr. for making the play of his year, because look, I knew he was going to be special. We haven't seen a lot of him this year. We've seen him open up the year with a pretty special game. I think he had like 7 receptions, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the first game. Something like that. Don't quote me on that, but he had a really good game. And then after that, he's kind of fell off. Tej Johnson took in the spotlight here as late. Troy Franklin's been special all year. It's been absolutely phenomenal. But Gary Bryant Jr. is really awesome to finally see him come out and make a play like he's gonna love this year. And moving forward, look, I think he's only a junior. He has another year of eligibility. This is a very special receiver. When Troy Franklin goes to the NFL, more than likely that could step up pretty big next year. Maybe Tej Johnson might be on the way to the NFL too. We don't know. But it's nice to have depth like this for the future. And Gary Bryant Jr. made things real special. Yards after catch, 71 yards to the house. Ducks go up 35-0 at this point. Here we go to the mid-second quarter. And Arizona State will put together a very respectable drive here. Running the ball out of the Wildcat. Semi-successful here. They're getting the ball all the way down to Oregon's 23-yard line at this point. They're knocking on the door of the red zone. Although, on a rollout to the right, the Arizona State quarterback throws the ball up on a heave pass. And true freshman, shout out Cole Martin. He was one of my first interviews on this channel. Gets the interception, man. And I know that's big for him to get that turnover. Absolutely big as a true freshman, making a play, getting in the game, and making that play the way he did. Absolutely awesome. Shout out Cole Martin for that. Ducks get the ball back with 1 minute and 11 seconds left on the clock. And that just proved to be too much time for Bo Nix as Oregon takes to the length of the field and scores on a 16-yard pass to Tej Johnson for Bo Nix right before the half. Guys, Ducks were up 42-0 at the half. Nothing. Let me remind you, folks, this Arizona State team went on the road and battled it out with Washington. Washington, yeah. The number 5 team in the country was only beat this Arizona State team 15-7. That's it. The Ducks are up 42-0 at the half. The game was over at this point, guys. Oregon pulled their starters. The Ducks would get it one more touchdown on the board from backup quarterback Ty Thompson. Nice throw. Nice to see him get in the game and execute. He might be our starter next year. We're going to have some people have faith in him. Some people don't. We're going to see. He looked nice getting in on garbage time this time around. He's looked nice more times than not. Getting into garbage time this round, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think a whole nother year of the spring game, a whole nother year of Will Stein's system, if he sticks around, right? Hopefully, cross our fingers, Will Stein sticks around here. And Ty Thompson can look way more comfortable in the pocket, way more comfortable making throws, making reads in this offense in year 2 of the Will Stein system. And he's going to be a veteran at that point next year. So I like what I've seen from Ty, certainly. And the Ducks would end up with 49 points in the game. Only 1 touchdown. That was a one lone touchdown in the second half. Really felt like the Ducks, really, if they wanted to, could have put up 70-plus points in this one if they really wanted to. But look, they don't want to embarrass Kenny Dillingham like that. The Arizona State head coach. There's a bunch of respect between these two coaching staffs. And look, the Ducks just came in, handled business. Final score, Ducks win 49-13 here. And shout out Kenny Dillingham. But look, there's your weekly recap, guys. Ducks get the business done. Now, we're going to talk about the Oregon offense and how special Bo Nix is and why he deserves the Heisman. And then we're going to dive into the defense and how great they've been all year in just a second after this sip. Man, H2O. It is a blessing. We got a comment in here. What's going on, Cole? Nice to see you again this week, my guy. Let's go, Ducks. Another week, another W. I love it, man. Love what I'm seeing. All right, guys. This Oregon offense, led by Heisman frontrunner Bo Nix, has been absolutely special all year long. They've been the most consistent offense in the country all year long. Look, the Ducks offense, this is facts, has scored 30-plus points in every game this season. People want to talk about this Heisman debate, if that's really what you want to call it, but we all know, guys, who the current betting favorite is. Bo Nix, and for good reason, guys. I'm going to read you a stat line real quick. 22 of 27 passing, 381 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And you look at that stat line and you might say, wow, that was a monster game for Bo Nix today. He must have done really well. Well, guess what? It was a monster half from Bo Nix. Yep, that's right. You heard me right. That was 1 half. That stat line I just read to you was the first half from Bo Nix. And look, I get it. Jaden Daniels over at LSU had himself a game. Feels like every time Bo Nix has a monster game, Jaden Daniels is having himself one as well. Here's the thing, though. Jaden Daniels has 3 losses. LSU has played a tougher schedule. That's a fair argument. They even played Florida State at the beginning of the season. Fair argument. He has 3 losses. LSU has also played a tough schedule. I hear you. I hear you. These are all factors that play into the Heisman Trophy. And in my opinion, if I were a Heisman voter, while winning isn't everything, it is a very important barometer on who I give my vote to if I was a Heisman voter. Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, both players have similar stat lines this year. Both players are phenomenal. Both players deserve the Heisman, but only one can win it. In that case, give me the quarterback that has his team sitting outside the college football playoff and on the verge of locking in a conference title game. Now, there's my bias, but not so biased take on this year's Heisman debate. But I think anybody around the country can just see how special Bo Nix is, how special this offense has been, and how consistent it's been under Bo Nix this year. And every game, guys, he has not had one bad game. Bo Nix is just doing it each and every game. Look, even if I was a Appalachian State fan out there, I would still have the same opinion, guys. Bo Nix for my Heisman 2023. His stat line is insane. His team is winning. And he's got his team on the verge of maybe having revenge. And that's where I think this is going to come down to. Look, Washington's already locked in their spot. Oregon wins this Friday. They're locked into the Pac-12 championship. They have the opportunity. Michael Penix versus Bo Nix. Bo Nix will have his opportunity to get his revenge over Penix and the Huskies and lock their spot into the college football playoff. And believe me, if that happens, Bo Nix is your 2023 Heisman winner, no doubt. All right, guys, let's talk about both Bucky Irving and Troy Franklin in this game, man. Reaching over 1,000 yards on the season and rushing for Bucky Irving and receiving for Troy Franklin. Reaching over 1,000 yards in those skill position groups is a huge deal, and both those guys do that. Troy Franklin becomes the all-time leader in Oregon history, sitting at 1,221 yards all time, or this season, excuse me. And think about this, guys. He still has the potential. 3 more games potentially to keep adding to those numbers. The offense overall, to me, was absolutely electric, as always this year. Like I said earlier in the podcast, this Oregon offense has scored 30-plus points in every game they have played this season. No one has stopped them. Shout out Bo Nix for obviously being a huge piece to this, and this offense this year. But let's also give some thanks to offensive coordinator Will Stein for coming in here year 1 and having instant success. I mean, I know some people kind of questioned him a little bit, coming in, especially at Texas Tech game. Even I had some things to say. But overall, guys, he's taken what Kenny Dillingham built here and bring it to a whole extreme another level. I mean, this guy, Will Stein, is really having Bo Nix looking like a Heisman contender. He has him locked in as the betting favorite right now. He's got Troy Franklin having one crazy season at wide receiver, the best season we've ever seen as an Oregon wide receiver when it's all said and done. Bucky Irving, our running back's got 1,000 yards. This offense is balanced. This offense, you don't know when it's coming, the run, the pass, the play action. We can go east-west. We can go down the field. I love what this offense is doing this year, and we absolutely dominated Arizona State as expected. And each and every game, we put up over 30 points every single game. Consistency, name of the game. And that's hard to do. It's hard to do when you're a college football team, no matter how good you are, to get these 18 to 22-year-old kids up every game, ready to score almost 50 points. I mean, man, this offense has been really special. Bo Nix has been really special. I'm excited to see what we do. We have a big time opportunity in front of us. This team is really special, and this team would not be so special without the defense. Let's talk about this defense, man. Look at these guys flying around, getting picks, getting to the quarterback. Kyrie Jackson's been huge up at the top. It's been absolutely huge this year. We can't talk about this game without talking about the Oregon defense. It's been special all year. We're at the end of the year now, okay? And we have a pretty good idea how good we are on both sides of the ball, okay? And Oregon, right now, they currently sit as the number 16th best total defense in the whole country. Number 16. And I told you guys at the beginning of the year, if you've been locked with me in our early season previews before any games had kick off in August, I told you guys if this defense could come in top 50 with what I expect from Bo Nix in this offense here, I told you guys, watch out. I think this will be a special year. Guys, we're sitting at number 16 in the country in total defense. I mean, Look, if you were to tell me the Ducks would rank first in total offense and first in total defense in the Pac-12 to start the year, I would have said you're crazy. Look, I would have probably predicted like USC or Washington to have the best statistical offense. Maybe even like Utah to have the best defense to begin the year. No way. Guys, guess what? We're at last game of the year here. It's the Ducks. It's the Ducks, both number one on offense and defense. And that's what championship teams have. Statistically, historically, that's what championship teams do. They dominate on both sides of the ball, and that's what the Ducks have done all year long. And trust me, as a longtime Duck fan, coming from a longtime Duck fan, this game right here against Arizona State, they only have 3 wins. I get it, we were confident, but this is the game. Going to the desert in November. I've been telling you guys all year, it scares the hell out of me. Where maybe the defense doesn't show up. Maybe the offense doesn't show up. Maybe special teams has a bad play and lets the home team get in the game. This is your classic game. What I'm trying to tell you guys, this is your classic game where the Ducks are supposed to go in and win, but they don't, and they let down the fan base for whatever reason. This happens every year. Now we got a brand new coach, year 2 in Dan Lanning. Is he going to let it happen? Let's see. Nope. Just like Shaq off the backboard. Nope. Dikembe Mutombo off the backboard. Block. Nope. Giving you the finger. Dan Lanning ain't having none of that. Dan Lanning has his defense rolling. Dan Lanning has his team motivated to win games like this. Matter of fact, I think I seen a stat where Dan Lanning is undefeated against unranked opponents. Undefeated since coming to Oregon against unranked opponents, and he gets it done here, man. It's good to see. It's good to not have classic letdowns as we usually see as an Oregon fan, right? Look, this defense held Arizona State to 13 points. They were 3 of 14 on third down. Only 316 total yards, and they forced 2 turnovers on the Sun Devils. I mean, the front 7, the depth that was added via the transfer portal, via recruiting, has made such a huge improvement and huge impact in year 2 of this Lanning defense. This type of aggressive style on defense, the teeth clenching, breaking down, get your man one-on-one type of defense is what we expected with this pair, Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoi, a head coach and defensive coordinator. Both these coaches come in with a lot of pedigree, a lot of coaching history that we were excited about on the defensive side of the ball in particular. Now, it was a little bit of a slow start for the defense in year 1 under Lanning, but look, guys, in year 2 and just a year later, 365 days later, Lanning has his guys now running his system to a T. It has been so awesome to watch, guys. Literally, this Duck defense be so elite, because to pair with an offense like this is the key to being a college football playoff team. And where are the Ducks right now? As long as we handle business like we're supposed to, I guarantee you we'll be locked in the college football playoff. Now, we've been locked in at this 6th spot for a while with this Florida State QB injury. Prayers to Jordan Travis. Awful news what happened. If you guys haven't seen the play, he broke his ankle totally. He's out for the year, so they lose a star quarterback. We're going to see how that affects their ranking, because the committee should take that into factor. We're going to play Washington if we beat Oregon State. We got to handle business against Oregon State. Hopefully we do that so we can play Washington again and get our revenge. I've been looking to that all year. We got a lot of ahead of us. Look, I will always say this till the day I die, till the day I'm blue in the face. If the Ducks continue to have a dominant defense, they will always be in contention for a national championship. Every year. Mark my words. The Ducks will always be able to score. Look, since the early 90s, Oregon has developed great quarterbacks here in Eugene. They have great offensive gurus here in Eugene. They can recruit from California. They're real close here with a load of quarterbacks, load of wide receivers, load of skill positions. The Ducks will be able to score out here on the West Coast. I have no doubt that we'll be able to keep putting up points. The special key to success for this Oregon program for me is adding a defense that can match that elite level of offense. And we're seeing it this year, guys. That's why I think that this is setting up to be a very special year for the Ducks. Number 1 in total offense in the Pac-12. Number 1 in total defense in the Pac-12. We have the opportunity, and thank God we do, to go play Washington. Excuse me. The only team that's put an L on the Ducks record so far. And end everything they want to do at the exact right moment. Think about it. Washington has the 2nd longest game-winning streak in the nation, right behind Georgia. They're undefeated. They've beaten the Ducks twice now. They have a 2-0 record on Dan Lanning. And all they have to do to get to where they want to go is beat the Ducks one more time. How special would it be for the Ducks to win the most important game of the season, go on to the CFP, and possibly play for a natty after beating Washington and getting the last laugh before heading to the Big Ten? I mean, this just has storybook written all over it. This has firework ending written all over it, and I'm here for it, guys. I think this is going to be a very, very special year for the Ducks. And you know what else is special? You know what else can give you that special feeling, that firework moment? Is winning money and watching sports, guys. Look, I'm in love with Mojo Fantasy. It's a crazy new app that turns sportsbook odds and selections into fantasy contests. Here's how it works, guys. Look, there are thousands, I'm speaking a lot, bunch of infinite amount of NFL and MLB player props. You build a portfolio, and the better your portfolio performs, the more cash you win. Pick as many props as you want and try to beat the crowd. It's a whole new way to play fantasy. The props act like stocks, so you can buy and sell live all game long. It's the only fantasy app that lets you make moves after the game starts. So look, you're not stuck with a bad pick. You can cash in on a hot start or just hang on and let them ride. Cash contests are based on real sportsbook odds. Get the same live player prop selection odds and cash outs as Mojo's New Jersey Sportsbook. You can trade sports like stocks. You control the action. Ride your picks, cash out, or enter new positions instantly. And this is the best part right here. There's no house advantage, guys. You can beat the crowd by building the biggest portfolio to climb the leaderboard and win cash prizes. If you know ball, that's it, guys. Make picks, make moves, make money. Download now on the Apple App Store and use my code DuckZone for a 100% deposit match up to $100 for your first time deposit. Link in the description for more if you guys want to go win some money while watching some sports. Easy, easy breezy. Okay, let's get into it. As you know, on our preview and prediction episodes, I like to give you my 3 keys to the game. This is what I had right here. So at number 1, I had end the game by halftime. I thought this was very important to end the game by halftime here. Because, look, you're a heavily favored team. This is a 3-win team that we're going against. We all had shades of that 2019 game. We all had that memory looming in the back of our head. And we're on the cusp of a college football playoff. Everything right in front of us. It's important to end this game early. Also, what does that allow? It allows you to rest some guys. We're at the end of the year now. We're getting nicked up. Look, we've seen it with Kyrie Jackson, Jaleel Florence. You know, we're getting nicked up. Some guys are getting nicked up. A couple offensive linemen are getting injured, a little nicked. It's very important to rest your guys, get them ready for this Pac-12 championship that we could possibly be playing for, get them ready for the college football playoff that we can possibly be playing for, but most importantly, getting ready for the Civil War that we need to win if we want to go to any of those games. So that was huge. Getting up 42-0, that was absolutely a check mark for me. Absolutely huge to end the game early. Get your starters pulled and get some young guys out there to get some play. And you keep guys healthy, which is also important. Number 2, I had get the kicking game figured out. And although I didn't think this was was needed to win the game, like normally how my keys to the game are based off of, I thought this was an important thing to kind of work on. Look, if we're up big and we have opportunities to get Camden out there, get his confidence up, make some kicks, start making some field goals, we're going to need him in close games. Look, why did we lose the Washington game? Why do we have a loss? It's not, now I'm not saying it's all on Camden, but he missed the kick. He missed the kick for the opportunity to go to overtime, and the Ducks were rolling at this point. They had all the momentum in the game, and he missed the kick, and Washington ended up winning that game. And ever since that point, it hasn't looked any better. It really hasn't. It's been a struggle for Camden. He's missed 5 field goals this year. He's kicked the ball out of bounds on kickoffs 5 times, giving us penalties on special teams, setting up offenses at the 35. You play teams like Washington, you play teams in the college football playoff if you make it with offenses like they have. Georgia, we're talking Ohio State, Michigan, a gift by giving him a first down right off the bat with 5. He's got 5 on the year. That's a lot. 5 missed field goals. I mean, we can't have this. We can't have this on special teams. We cannot have this. So, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities that I've seen. I think he did miss a kick. I think Camden did actually miss a kick towards the end of the game here. So, again, I'm going to have to give this an X. The kicking game is still a question for me moving forward, and it's something to look out for because if we need Camden in a game, my confidence is really low, guys. I'm sorry. At number 3, I'd keep penalties low. I think the Ducks had like 5 penalties for 45 yards. That's off my top of my head, but it was somewhere around there. Certainly not a great performance. I'm sure if you ask Dan Lanning, he'd say he wants 0, and we did not pass this. Me personally, for my podcast, I'm gonna give it a pass here. Definitely think they kept the penalties low to Oregon standards, because there's been games where sometimes we're having 15 to 10 to 8 penalties a game, sometimes more than not. And this game, we're on the road. Look, it was more of a home game. A lot of our fans were at this stadium. It was very impressive. A lot of green and yellow in the stands when it panned over to the crowd. I know our boy Sports Chat 503, Ryan Winter, shout out to him. He was there. And yeah, he had a lot of videos out there surfacing that had a lot of Oregon fans out there showing love. So shout out all the Duck fans to go out to Arizona State, experience it one more time. They're off to the Big 12. It's kind of the last hoorah here. The last tour of schools this season. It's kind of how it's been. So it's good to Duck fans get out there. Really didn't feel like an away environment in this one because of how Arizona State's program is right now, kind of in the gutter. 3-win season, right? Ducks are rolling. This kind of expected win. And it was kind of easy for the Ducks, I feel like, to keep the penalties low in this one. And they finished with 5 penalties for about 45 yards. Not too bad. And I got to talk about this penalty if we're going to talk about penalties. The Terrence Ferguson touchdown. That would have been Bo Nix's 7th touchdown. I think would have been an Oregon football record if he would have got that. Oh, my goodness. This is why I advocate, guys. If you're on board with me, this is why I advocate. Pac-12 refs, okay, coaches, players, after games, what do they have to do? They have to go to a conference room, just like kind of like this. They have to sit down in front of a mic like this and explain themselves. Hey, why did you make this call? Hey, why did you, what did you see here as a player? Why did you miss the coverage? Go into certain situations where the pressure's on, but players are paid. Some of them are paid pretty nicely now. Coaches have always been paid pretty nicely, and the media should have the freedom to ask them questions. Why could somebody answer this? Why are refs not subjugated to come to a media room after the game and explain the calls? Why do they just get a free pass? They can make all these horrible calls they want, like they did on Terrence Ferguson on the push-off call. That should have been an easy touchdown. There's absolutely no push-off. If you guys want to look at the Romo Doomsday highlight tape and tell me that guy doesn't push off like that every time, and then we're going to call it on Terrence Ferguson, I mean, come on. Maybe they were feeling bad for Arizona State. I have no idea. But look, guys, this is what we should all advocate for as fans, right? Advocate that the refs should go after the games and have a media stint with the media. Talk about their calls. Get questioned, because this is ridiculous. They just get a free pass. They get to make questionable calls. Everybody gets to debate them, but they just get to walk off and not even make a statement. They're the one that made the call. So, I don't know, man. It just gets to me. All right, guys, let's go ahead and look at the games around the Pac-12 this week. We have week 12, guys. Whew, we're getting to the end here. Football this week. On Friday, we started with Colorado at Washington State. I had Washington State winning this game. That's who I chose winning this game, and they certainly did. Now, not the way I thought they would. Washington State won this game 56-14 over Colorado. Colorado ended their season horribly. USC ended their season horribly. These two should play in a bowl game just in each other just because they're the most hyped up teams, but yet they did nothing towards the end of the season. So that was pretty funny to see. Colorado, Deion Sanders, look, this is my take on him. I think he's a good coach, okay? He inherited a horrible roster, horrible. And he got rid of, we've never seen a roster been overturned the way that was. I did not expect them to win even 3 games. Now, they got over that right at the beginning of the season and struggled ever since. But, look, Deion Sanders, I think he's a damn good recruiter. I think he knows how to motivate his team. Hey, you've seen the star players that Colorado did have. Those were his guys. Now just think about it. Just like Dan Lanning, the defense struggled in year 1 for the Ducks. When Deion Sanders in Colorado gets his guys at Colorado, trust me, I think Colorado, you might see them win 8, maybe even 10 games next year, just because based off they're going to be in a whole new conference, a weaker conference at that. And then they're going to get year 2 of Deion Sanders, his system, his guys, maybe new coaches, right? Some coaches don't work out. He's able to fix the program. Look, Colorado is absolutely awful. A lot of people want to say Deion Sanders isn't a good coach. This is my hot take. I think Deion Sanders, if he was to go to Texas A&M and take that job, which I don't think he will right after 1 year of Colorado, but I'm just telling you now, if Texas A&M wanted to go after Deion, I would have zero doubt that Deion would make Texas A&M a winner in 1 to 2 years. No doubt. Colorado's a little different place. You got to rebuild a lot. You got to rebuild the whole culture over there. Texas A&M, they got talent ready to go. They got money ready to spend. They just need a recruiter and a guy that knows how to coach. Now, talking about does he know how to coach on the field? Still have to see that a little bit, but let me remind you, he went 11-1 at JSU. Okay, he got a lot of wins at JSU. I get it. It's a league lower, whole bunch of low level talent down there. But when you come in the Pac-12, he took a 1-win team, got it to 4 wins. That's 1, 2, 3 quadruple, tripling the wins from last year. So you can't tell me Deion's a bad coach, man. Deion's a damn good coach. I love what he's doing. This wasn't his year, right? He had a bad team. Washington State gets them 56-14 on a Friday night. All right, let's go to the next one. Here we had game of the week, man. Everybody's eyes were on this one, and it played out like the game of the week. It was a great game to watch. Number 5, Washington at 11, Oregon State, and this was one that obviously all of us Duck fans were watching because Oregon State's our next opponent. And look, if we beat Oregon State, we know this. Washington, once they beat Oregon State, which they did, Washington won this one 22-20. Very close game, interesting game. They locked in their spot in the Pac-12 championship. And honestly, in the back of my head, I didn't care who won this game. I know some people were pulling for Oregon State because they wanted the Civil War to be a top 10 matchup. Some people were pulling for Washington because they want to be undefeated. I don't give a damn who won this game. I was just happy one of these teams are going to be pretty devastated once they lost. So that was fun. Washington pretty much controlled this game. They got up pretty big, pretty early. Questionable calls on Romo Doomsday. I say this every time, man. This guy pushes off every time, dude. And, I get it. He's a top receiver. He's probably getting held as well. There's a lot of hand fighting. But, man, the refs, man. Watch Romo Doomsday with his hand right before the ball gets there, man. He goes like this. True. With the other hand, and he gets it. But, hey, there's also pictures of him getting held out there. I get it. Questionable call. Without a doubt, Washington holds on. Now, this is the key to the game that I want to point out here. While watching this, Oregon State had a play where the punter had the ball fly over his head because the long snapper snapped it too hard. Ball flies over his head. He kicks it out of bounds, and it ends up as a safety. I want you guys to look at the final score. Washington won this game 22-20. Guys, that safety right there just decided the game. And that's why special teams is so important. That's why I was on the point of Camden Lewis. We need you, my guy. We need you to get that confidence. We need you to start being money like you were at the beginning of the season, because in these close games, more than often or not, it's one play. It's one play that you just don't know that's coming. In these games that are toss-up games, like Oregon State, Washington, this was a great game. Offense versus defense. Both sides of the ball played phenomenal. I mean, Oregon State's defense really locked down Michael Penix the way I haven't seen that way I haven't seen a defense lock down Michael Penix this year. So, look, credit to Oregon State. They fought hard, but it was that one play, that one snap that flew over his head. It ended up in a safety, and boom, there you go. You lost 22-20, so that's always tough there. Washington locks their spot into the Pac-12 championship. They're off to the Apple Cup, where Washington State just won pretty big. So that's going to be fun to watch, man. Nevertheless, Washington State could knock off Washington's college football playoff hopes. Same with Oregon State here against Oregon, these two rivalry games. But Washington's already locked in their spot. If Oregon loses and Arizona beats Arizona State, you're going to see Washington versus Arizona. That's going to be the Pac-12 championship. So Oregon, Dan Lanning said it in the media conference, this is Oregon's Super Bowl against Oregon State. The last Civil War, guys, before the conference implodes, and it's just Oregon State and Washington State. They control the conference at this point. This is it. 100+ years of history gone. And there's actually talks and reports that I'm not going to get into yet, maybe in a future podcast, but there are talks and reports out there that Oregon possibly is going to move the Boise State matchup that we have planned with them and put Oregon State there instead, and move the Boise State matchup into the 2030s, I think they're talking about. And I think Oregon's going to get a payout of that. We can talk about that later, but nonetheless, Washington beats Oregon State and locks their spot into the Pac-12 championship. Let's go here. This was also a sneaky good game this weekend. 22 Utah at number 17 Arizona. And this one surprised the hell out of me because, look, Arizona, they're the hottest team in the country right now. One of the hottest teams. They're playing phenomenal ball all year under Judd Fish to see what he's done. They lost their quarterback, Jade Delora, and then Fafita steps in and just takes them to, I feel like, a whole nother level. And this kid's a freshman, dude. Like, Arizona is going to be really damn good in the coming years as long as they keep Jedd Fisch there. Because this guy, you got to remember, Arizona was a 1-win football team just a few years ago. And now they're in contention of possibly being in the Pac-12 title game if Oregon does not handle their business against Oregon State. So they go against here Utah, who, what are they? The 2-time Pac-12 champs. They're one of the most experienced rosters in the country. And they have a damn good defense. Look, I know their offense isn't that special, but I thought their defense is pretty special, and I thought their defense would travel here. I had Utah winning this game. I had it in a toss-up game. Look, I didn't expect Arizona to lay down here. I expect Utah to dominate, but that's supposed to be a back-and-forth game. I thought with Utah's experience, they would have got it done. Well, that wasn't the case, guys. Arizona came out and just put it on them. I think it was like 35-0 at one point or 28-0 at one point. It was a total domination by Arizona here. Arizona wins 42-18 at home. They get it done there. Absolute blowout, man. Utah's going to be out of the top 25. I expect that. And Arizona, man, with that type of win, I expect them to be top 15, 100%. This one was another surprising one. Oh, my gosh. UCLA at USC. And look, UCLA, there was reports right before this of Chip Kelly heading out. They're talking about him being fired possibly. I thought they're kind of laying down. I thought UCLA was kind of laying down. They lost to Arizona State 17-7. I thought UCLA, their football program was laying down. I thought they're done. I thought they're looking at next year when they go to the Big Ten. While USC, they just got rid of their DC. I think they probably got a rejuvenated group there on the defensive side. I thought they were ready to play, being at home against your rival in LA. This is where you want to prove it. And bam, man. Oh my goodness. The exact opposite happens, man. I had USC big in this one. I thought this would be like USC 56-20. I thought USC was going to roll here. Nope. UCLA gets the job done in LA, 38-20 over the Trojans. Who's seen this coming? Oh my goodness. It is a dumpster fire at USC. And this happens every year, guys. I got to make my point here. How many times have we seen USC? Look, I'm going to give my credit here. The University of Spoiled Children, you guys out there, the Trojan fans, if you're listening, you guys were dominant. 80s, 90s, hell, go to the 70s. Early 2000s was your golden era. Pete Carroll, right? But ever since then, you guys have been mid. I mean, the MID with a capital M, mid. This every year we get the hype. You guys get the recruits. You guys get the big time coach. And again, you guys finish 8-4, 7-5, 6-6, maybe a 9-win season here and there. But man, it is constant whirlwind of this where you guys' offense is explosive, but you guys can't stop a thing on defense. And I said this when Alex Grinch got fired. I put this out on my Twitter. Remember when I said Alex Grinch wasn't the problem? As long as you have a culture, a head coach, Lincoln Riley, who I'm obviously putting the blame here. If you have a culture built on offense and just not caring about the ball, you just want your DC to draw it up. Don't worry about it. Hey, most of my team come over here at this huddle. Hey, on practice, we're going to be worrying about this. We're not going to worry about tackling today. We're going to load up in our recruiting classes with wide receivers and running backs, no linemen, no D-line. We don't need that. That's your culture. That's your mindset. This is what you get on the field. And until Lincoln Riley changes his approach to a more defensive mindset and recruits as a more defensive team, this is the results you're going to get. Look, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA headed to the Big Ten. USC lost to all three of those schools this year. All three. And then they got to go play the likes of Ohio State and Michigan. Wisconsin, that's pretty damn physical. Man, it's only going to get tougher for you guys. And you got a head coach that has a culture of, I'm just going to call it out, softness. Culture of softness. Like, that's not what wins football games, man. You got a quarterback that paints his fingernail. Look, I'm done on this point. All I got to say, man, is USC, unless your head coach changes his approach and changes the culture, I don't see nothing changes. You guys can have all kinds of defensive coordinators. Hire the best defensive coordinator you could think of. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the culture is everything. And we see that here with Dan Lanning. What Dan Lanning's doing, hell, I'll give you guys credit up there in the north. Well, Washington, Kellen DeBoer has built, Jonathan Smith, Oregon State, Jedd Fisch, Arizona. These are programs that have strong cultures, that have a winning mentality with their head coaches and coaches that are driven by defense and winning and physicality. You see it with these teams on the field, and you don't see that with USC. You don't see that with any Lincoln Riley team ever, matter of fact, even when he was at Oklahoma. That's why I blame the guy, man, because it's now 2 blue blood programs that you've driven in the ground with bad defenses. You've had 2 defensive coordinators. Everybody forgets Mike Stoops. He had Mike Stoops when he entered Oklahoma. That was a short stint. Everybody pointed the finger at Mike Stoops. Now he had Alex Grinch for a while. Everybody points fingers at Alex Grinch. All right, here we go. Here comes DC number 3. Guys, if you were a defensive coordinator out there on the block, and you're seeing this at USC and Lincoln Riley, you're seeing this at Oklahoma, would you want to be his next defensive coordinator? Hell no, man. You better find me. I'll go to Appalachian State. I ain't going to USC. Nah, I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, obviously. But damn. Everybody wants to keep pointing the finger when the main guy right there tells you see how he recruits. Okay, I'll give you an example. Dan Lanning, 2023 recruiting class. He brought in 10, total of 10 offensive linemen and defensive linemen in the recruiting class in 2023. I think USC only signed like 4 or 5, something like that, something crazy. Look, when you go to the Big Ten, what are you going to need? Physicality. You're going to need a defense. You're going to need offensive linemen. You're going to need to play some big boy football. Get ready, USC. That's all I got to say. Get ready. All right, last game we'll talk about here. Cal at Stanford. This is a big-time rivalry for these 2 big schools. National media is not going to talk about this at all because both these teams are really irrelevant. I think both these teams are going to the ACC, so that's going to be fun to watch for them. Although I had Stanford winning this one, I thought home field advantage. Sometimes Stanford has surprised us this year. They played Washington tough. They won some close games here and there. And I thought being at home, being the rivalry game, I thought Stanford would be up for this one. Well, Cal, they've been good all year. They've been consistent all year as well, and they get the job done. 27-15, they win their rivalry there. So congratulations to Cal, as both these teams will go to different conferences next year. All right, guys, that's it. That's it for the show. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in once again. I'm your host, Dominiqk Peterson. This is the DuckZone503 Podcast, where we talk all things Oregon football. If you haven't already, guys, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below for me. As always, you guys know what it is. Go Ducks. Give you 2 podcasts a week, okay? I'm trying to give you at least 2 podcasts a week. Recruit interviews. All of the Oregon football latest updates on our social media accounts at DuckZone503 if you want the quickest updates directly from me. If you're listening to this on Spotify after it's up, please rate us 5 stars. Really appreciate everybody who does. Talking all things Pac-12 as well. Big Ten next year. See you guys there. It's going to be an awesome year next year. We got the Civil War coming up. Oregon State. I guarantee they're going to be a top 15 team. If they're not, they're going to be a top 20 team for sure. So that's going to be big. We're going to have our preview and prediction episode here on Wednesday afternoon. So tune in here, hit the subscribe button. Don't miss out on anything Ducks. Go Ducks. See you in the next one, guys. Oh, you were able to get the Disney on? No, this is on TV. Oh, it is? Yeah. That's good timing. It's 25 days Christmas or whatever. Oh, it's this channel. But, oh, hell yeah. I used to watch this as a kid. The 25 days of Christmas. That was a weird time. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. The weird sound. I thought maybe you guys were like, it's like a dad. And I was like, yeah. Maybe it's like, I mean, honestly, I think that's for the female. You guys only have to do it, so. Yeah. Alright, good. I was just doing it. Okay. I was just doing it. I never know how many people pop off. But at least with this, like, people have to, like, move the chair, you know? Not fun. Hell yeah. What's up, man? What is going on? Am I still live? What's up, everybody? I'm gonna just do this.